and Jack. We've all been friends since middle school, and Alex was the only one with a car reliable enough to make the drive, a Jeep that she was obsessed with and jumped at any excuse to take off-road. She was also the designated driver since she doesn't drink, which worked out perfectly for the rest of us, who were planning to bring a few beers to celebrate once we reached the top of whatever plateau we decided to climb. Our plan was to check out the Flaming Gorge lookout first, then drive through the plateau area to find a good spot for climbing. The lookout was incredible, one of those views that makes you remember why you love living in Wyoming. After spending about an hour taking pictures and just soaking it in, we started heading back toward Route 80, taking our time and keeping an eye out for potential climbing spots. We were driving along Highway 141 when we spotted this really cool area off the side of the road. There were these massive rock formations that looked perfect for climbing. Not too technical, but challenging enough to be worth the effort. Alex pulled into a small gravel lot, and we grabbed our gear and filled our backpacks with drinks. The plateau we chose was maybe a 15-minute climb to the top. Nothing too crazy, just a steady scramble up the rock face, with enough handholds and footholds to make it manageable. I have a bunch of pictures from that day, mostly because Alex insisted we get a million pictures of her, so I'll include some of them. Alex went first since she was the most experienced climber among us, followed by me, then Nick, then Jack bringing up the rear. The view from the top was absolutely worth it. You could see for miles in every direction, just endless stretches of Wyoming wilderness. We cracked open our beers and were just sitting there enjoying the moment, talking about some of our other friends from school. I was just kind of staring into space, admiring the scenery, when I noticed a car speeding down the highway. It was a red pickup truck. To my surprise, after passing Alex's car, it screeched to a halt in the middle of the highway. I kept watching, and it actually started reversing right there in the middle of the highway. I pointed it out to my friends, and the four of us got a little quieter, all wondering what the truck was doing. It reversed until it could turn into the lot we had parked in, which it did. We all watched as someone got out of the truck. From our distance, we could tell it was a man based on his height and build, but we couldn't make out much detail. At first, we thought maybe he was just another person looking for a place to climb or hike or just stop and rest. But then he started walking around Alex's Jeep in a way that just immediately seemed wrong. He was peering into the windows, trying the door handles, and generally inspecting the car like he was planning to break into it. That's when Nick yelled, "Hey!" from the top of the plateau to announce our presence and let that guy know that the car was not unattended. We saw the guy jump a little and start looking around, clearly unsure where the voice had come from. Finally, he spotted us from atop the plateau, and he actually waved at us. We thought it was over, that he'd probably get back in his truck, knowing that he couldn't get away with doing anything. To our surprise, though, he kept poking around Alex's car. In response to that, Jack yelled that we were armed, which I still think was a bad idea. We obviously didn't have any weapons with us, but I figured Jack thought the bluff might scare the guy off. Instead, the man looked up at us and yelled back something that made me freeze up. He said, "Me too, kiddo." Then he held something up in the air and waved it around, presumably a gun, but I couldn't tell from so far away. What happened next was like something out of a nightmare. The man started ramming his shoulder and elbow into the Jeep's windows, clearly trying to break in. We could hear the impact even from where we were sitting. Alex was furious and started screaming at him to get away from the car. The rest of us joined in, yelling and making as much noise as possible, while we started scrambling down the plateau as quickly as we could safely manage. I've never climbed down anything so fast in my life. By the time we heard the sound of glass shattering, we'd made it to the ground and were sprinting across the lot toward the Jeep. The man saw us coming and yelled for us to stop, pointing what I can now tell was definitely a gun directly at us. We had no choice but to stop and put our hands up. The man told us to throw our phones and wallets on the ground, which we did without hesitation. Then he ordered us to walk backwards while he collected our stuff, keeping the gun trained on us the entire time. I was close enough now to get a good look at his face. He was an older white guy, maybe in his 50s, with a scraggly beard and kind of weathered features. Nothing particularly distinctive, which was frustrating because I knew it would be impossible to identify him among a group of generic-looking white men.
After collecting all of our belongings, he pulled out a knife and punctured Alex's tire. Then he walked back to his pickup truck, which I noticed didn't have any license plates, and drove off without another word. Alex was livid, and I don't blame her. I was mostly scared from being held at gunpoint, but if I were in her shoes, I'd be furious as well. Not only had this guy robbed us and damaged her car, but we couldn't even call the police or chase after him since he'd taken our phones and disabled the Jeep. Jack and I changed the tire as fast as possible, but I'm pretty sure all of us knew there was no way we'd be able to do it quick enough. Once we were back on the road, Alex drove as fast as she could in the direction the pickup had gone, but he was long gone. We gave up soon after that. Nick knew the way back to town by heart, so we decided to just head home and figure out what to do from there. As soon as we got to Alex's house, we used her mom's phone to call the police. We gave them a description of the man and his truck, but without license plates or any other identifying information, there wasn't much they could do except keep an eye out for someone matching the description. We never heard anything back from the police, obviously, and as far as I know, the guy was never caught. It completely ruined what should have been one of the best days of our summer, and I don't think any of us felt safe going out to remote areas like that for at least a few months. I definitely didn't.